You know English. You understand videos. You recognize thousands of words. You can read sentences and understand what they mean. Sometimes you can even hear a fluent speaker and follow almost everything they say. But then someone asks you a simple question. What did you do yesterday? And suddenly your mind stops. You know the answer. You know the words. You may have studied English for years. Yet the sentence does not come out. Your brain starts searching. You translate from your first language. You question your grammar. You reject one sentence, build another sentence, change the verb, and worry about your pronunciation. By the time you are finally ready to answer, the conversation has already moved forward. This experience makes many learners believe they are bad at English. They think they need more vocabulary, more grammar lessons, or another 6 months of studying before they can speak confidently. But that is usually not the real problem. Your English knowledge may not be the problem at all. Your response system is the problem. You have trained your brain to recognize English, but you have not trained it to produce English quickly. You have trained yourself to understand answers, but you have not trained yourself to create answers under pressure. You have filled your mind with information, but you have not built a fast pathway between thought and speech. That pathway can be trained. You do not need to become a genius. You do not need perfect grammar. You do not need to know every word. You need to teach your brain how to react in English before fear, translation, and overthinking take control. In this training, you are going to learn how to shorten the distance between hearing a question and giving an answer. You are going to stop waiting for perfect sentences. You are going to build automatic response patterns, strengthen your speaking reflexes, and train yourself to continue speaking even when the exact word does not appear. Do not treat this like another English lesson that you listen to once and forget. Speak with me. Pause when you need to answer. Repeat the drills. Use your voice. Your brain will not become faster because you understand this information. It will become faster because you practice responding. This is your speaking reset. Chapter 1. Why your brain becomes slow. When you speak English, before you can respond faster, you need to understand why your mind becomes slow. Most learners assume that slow speaking means weak English. That conclusion is too simple. You can have good English knowledge and still respond slowly because speaking requires several mental processes to happen almost at the same time. When someone asks you a question, your brain must first understand the sounds. Then it must understand the meaning. Then it must decide what you want to say. After that, it must find the vocabulary, choose a grammatical structure, organize the words, control pronunciation, and finally sends in the sentence to your mouth. In your first language, most of these processes happen automatically. You do not consciously choose every verb. or inspect every sentence before speaking. The thought appears and language follows it. In English, however, you may be trying to control every step. You hear the question, you translate it. You think of an answer in your first language. You translate your answer into English. You examine the grammar. You search for a better word. You worry about making a mistake. Then you finally speak. That is not one process. That is a long chain of processes. Of course, your response is slow. Imagine trying to drive a car while consciously thinking about every movement. You think, now I need to move my right foot. Now I need to press the pedal. Now I need to look in the mirror. Now I need to turn the wheel. A beginner may need to think like that. An experienced driver does not. The movements become connected and automatic through repetition. Speaking works in a similar way. Your goal is not to force your brain to work harder. Your goal is to reduce the number of decisions your brain must make. Many learners make the situation worse by demanding a perfect answer immediately. They believe that every sentence must be grammatically correct, interesting, clear, natural, and impressive. That is too much pressure. A real conversation does not require a perfect answer. It requires a useful response. Suppose someone asks, "What kind of music do you like?" A slow learner may start thinking, should I say, I like listening or I like to listen? Is music countable? Should I use mostly? How can I explain my preferences naturally? A faster speaker begins with something simple. I mostly listen to relaxing music. That sentence creates movement. After speaking the first sentence, the speaker can add more. I usually listen to it when I am working. Sometimes I also enjoy old songs. The faster speaker is not necessarily more intelligent. The faster speaker has learned to begin before the complete answer is ready. This is one of the most important principles in this entire training. You do not need to prepare the whole answer before opening your mouth. Prepare the first useful sentence. Then build the answer while speaking. Your first sentence is not the entire performance. It is the doorway. Let us practice this idea. I will ask a question. Your goal is not to create a brilliant answer. Your goal is to begin within 3 seconds. What do you normally do in the morning? Answer. Now you may have said, I normally wake up around 6. Good. That is enough to begin. Now add one detail. I normally wake up around 7 and then I check my phone. Now add another detail. After that, I wash my face and make breakfast. Notice what happened. You did not need to design the complete answer in advance. You created it in sections. Here is another question. What is one place you would like to visit? Begin with one simple sentence. I would like to visit Japan. Now add a reason. I would like to visit Japan because I am interested in the culture. Now add another detail. I would also like to try the food and visit some traditional places. This method reduces mental pressure because you only need to produce one small part at a time. Another reason your brain becomes slow is that you may be trying to remember rules while speaking. Grammar rules are useful when you are studying and correcting your English. They are not always useful when you need to respond immediately during a conversation. Thinking about technical rules can interrupt your natural flow. You may think, this event happened yesterday, so I need the past simple. This verb is irregular. What is the past form? Should I use an article here? While you are doing all of that, your speaking system becomes blocked. This does not mean grammar is unimportant. It means grammar must be trained through patterns until it becomes familiar enough to use without constant analysis. You did not learn your first language by thinking about grammar terminology before every sentence. You learned through repeated exposure, correction, imitation, and use. English must also move from conscious knowledge to automatic use. Think about a sentence such as, I have never tried that before. You could study the present perfect rule. You could analyze why have is used. You could examine the past participle. But in a fast conversation, you do not have time to rebuild the grammar rule. You need to recognize the whole sentence as a familiar speaking pattern. I have never tried that before. I have never heard of that before. I have never been there before. I have never thought about that before. These sentences share a pattern. When the pattern becomes familiar, your brain can use it quickly. Your speed will not come from knowing more isolated rules. It will come from having more ready-to-use patterns. Your brain may also slow down because you are monitoring yourself too aggressively. Self-monitoring means listening to yourself, checking your language, and noticing mistakes. Some monitoring is helpful. Too much monitoring is destructive. Imagine speaking while an internal critic interrupts every sentence. That pronunciation sounded wrong. That word was too basic. You should have used a different tense. They probably think your English is terrible. This internal commentary consumes attention. Instead of focusing on the conversation, you are focusing on your performance. You cannot respond naturally when half of your attention is being used to judge yourself. You need to separate speaking time from correction time. During speaking time, communicate. During practice or review time, correct. When you are answering someone, your first responsibility is to keep meaning moving. You can improve accuracy later. If you interrupt every sentence to repair it, you train hesitation. There is another factor that slows the brain: fear of negative judgment. You are not only producing language, you may also be trying to protect your image. You think, what if they laugh? What if I sound unintelligent? What if I forget a word? What if my accent is bad? Your brain interprets the conversation as a threat. When you feel threatened, your body becomes tense, your breathing changes, and your working memory becomes less effective. Words that you know suddenly become difficult to access. This is why you may speak well alone, but freeze in front of another person. Your knowledge has not disappeared. Anxiety has blocked access to it. The solution is not to wait until fear disappears completely. The solution is to train yourself to speak while accepting some discomfort. You need to prove to your brain that mistakes are not emergencies. You say the wrong word. You correct it. You forget a word. You describe it. You misunderstand a question. You ask the person to repeat it. You need more time. You use a natural phrase to hold the conversation. Nothing terrible happens. Every time you survive an imperfect conversation, your brain becomes less afraid of the next one. Let us practice responding without overthinking. I will ask several simple questions. Give yourself no more than 3 seconds before starting. Your answers do not need to be long. What did you eat today? What is something you do every weekend? Which season do you prefer? What is one skill you want to improve? Who do you speak to most often? What makes you feel relaxed? What is one thing you did last night? What are you planning to do tomorrow? Did you notice hesitation? Do not judge it. Notice where it came from. Were you searching for ideas? Were you translating? Were you trying to make the answer impressive? Were you checking grammar? The first step toward faster speaking is awareness. You must notice what your brain is doing during the silent gap before your answer. From now on, when you hesitate, ask yourself one question. What is the simplest useful sentence I can say right now? Not the best sentence, not the most advanced sentence, the simplest useful sentence. That question will begin changing the way you speak. Chapter 2. Stop translating and start connecting meaning directly to English translation is one of the biggest causes of slow responses. When you first begin learning English, translation is natural. You see the word chair, connect it to the equivalent word in your language, and understand the meaning. Translation acts like a bridge, but many learners continue using that bridge long after they should have started building direct connections. They hear an English question, convert it into their language, create an answer in their language, and then convert that answer back into English. That process is slow, especially when the languages have different sentence structures. The problem is not that translation is always wrong. The problem is that real-time conversation moves faster than translation. To respond quickly, you need to connect situations, images, emotions, actions, and ideas directly to English. When you see rain, your brain should not need to travel through another language before producing it is raining. When you feel tired, the sentence, I am exhausted, should connect directly to the feeling. When someone asks, how was your day? Your brain should connect the question to familiar English responses instead of building an answer through translation. This direct connection does not appear because you decide to stop translating. It develops through specific practice. The first method is to think in very small English sentences throughout the day. Do not begin by trying to think about complicated topics. That usually creates frustration. Begin with the immediate environment. I'm sitting at my desk. My phone is beside me. I need to answer this message. The room feels warm. I am getting hungry. I should drink some water. These sentences may seem too easy. That is exactly why they are useful. You are training speed, not showing intelligence. When a pianist practices basic scales, the scales are not impressive. They build control. Simple English thoughts build direct pathways. As you move through your day, describe what you are doing. I am opening the door. I am looking for my keys. I forgot where I put them. I need to leave in 10 minutes. The traffic might be heavy. Do not translate these ideas first. Look at the situation and name it directly in English. At the beginning, the English may appear slowly. Keep the thoughts short. You are not trying to narrate your entire life perfectly. You are teaching your brain to connect reality to English. The second method is image-based vocabulary. Many learners store vocabulary as translation pairs. They remember that one English word equals one word in their first language. A stronger method is to connect the English word to an image, action, or experience. Consider the word pour instead of remembering a translation. Imagine water moving from a bottle into a glass. Say, pour the water. Imagine tea moving into a cup. Say, she is pouring tea. Imagine heavy rain. Say, the rain is pouring down. Now, the word is connected to meaning, not only to translation. Do the same with emotional words. For frustrated, remember a situation in which you tried repeatedly and failed. Say, I felt frustrated because nothing was working. For relieved, remember receiving good news after a period of worry. Say, I was relieved when I heard the result. The stronger the connection between English and real meaning, the less translation you need. The third method is learning phrases as complete units. If you build every sentence word by word, your brain must make too many decisions. Fluent speakers often use chunks of language. A chunk is a group of words that commonly appears together. To be honest, it depends on as far as I know. I'm not sure, but the main reason is I have been I am looking forward to, from my point of view. These chunks reduce the amount of language. You must create from nothing. Suppose someone asks, would you like to work from home? You can begin with a ready-made chunk. To be honest, I would prefer to work from home than continue. The main reason is that I would save time, then add another familiar pattern. On the other hand, working from home can sometimes feel isolating. You're not translating a full paragraph. You are combining familiar English units. Let us build some response chunks. Now, repeat these phrases aloud. That is an interesting question. I have never thought about that before. My first reaction is the main thing is one reason could be, for example, what I mean is, let me explain in my experience. I would probably say it is difficult to choose, but generally speaking, agree. To some extent, I am not completely sure as far as I can remember. These phrases do more than make you sound natural. They give your brain time. When someone asks a difficult question, you do not need to remain silent while thinking you can begin with. That is an interesting question. I have never thought about that before. Now you are already speaking. The pressure decreases and your brain has a few extra seconds to organize the answer. The fourth method is to avoid translating complex sentences from your first language. Your first language thoughts may be long, culturally specific, or grammatically different from English. When you try to translate them exactly, you create unnecessary difficulty. Instead, simplify the meaning. Suppose your original thought is complicated. Do not ask, how can I translate every part of this sentence perfectly? Ask, how can I express the central idea in simple English? Maybe you want to say something like, because of everything that happened recently, I have reached a point where I no longer feel that continuing this plan will produce a useful result. That may be difficult to translate quickly. Simplify it. A lot has happened recently, and I do not think this plan will work anymore. The meaning is clear. The sentence is easier to produce. Strong communication is not about preserving every word from your first language thought. It is about transferring the important meaning. You need to develop mental flexibility. When one sentence feels too difficult, choose another sentence. When one word is missing, use a simpler word. When one structure feels complicated, divide it into two sentences. Instead of saying, although I had originally intended to attend the event, an unexpected responsibility prevented me from going. Say, I wanted to attend the event, but something unexpected happened. I could not go. Both versions communicate the main idea. The second version is easier to access under pressure. Some learners resist simple English because they believe it sounds childish. That belief damages fluency. Simple English is not bad English. Clear English is powerful English. Native speakers often use simple words and direct structures. They do not search for advanced vocabulary in every conversation. Your goal is not to make every sentence sophisticated. Your goal is to respond clearly, naturally, and confidently. Let us practice direct thinking. Look around you and name 5 objects in English. Now describe where they are. The notebook is on the table. The window's behind me. My phone is next to the computer. Now describe 3 actions happening around you or actions you can imagine. Someone is walking outside. A car is passing. The fan is moving slowly. Now describe your current physical state. I feel comfortable. My eyes are a little tired. I am sitting in a relaxed position. Now describe your current mental state. I am concentrating. I am trying to understand this lesson. I feel motivated to improve. This practice may feel, but it is training the exact connection you need. Experience directly into English. Now let us practice answers without translation. I will give you a topic. Speak for 20 seconds using simple English. Your morning routine. Begin now. Do not try to translate a prepared speech. Start with the first thing you do. I usually wake up and then continue step by step. Now speak about your hometown. Begin with I live in. Describe the size, atmosphere, weather, people, traffic or food. Now speak about a recent problem. Begin with recently I had a problem with. Explain what happened using short sentences. Your task is not to sound advanced. Your task is to stay in English. When you forget a word, do not return immediately to your first language. Pause and describe the word. Suppose you forget kettle. You can say, it is the thing we use to boil water. Suppose you forget receipt. You can say, it is the small paper you get after paying. Suppose you forget sleeve. You can say, it is the part of a shirt that covers your arm. This skill is called circumlocution. But you do not need to remember that technical word. You need to remember the action. Describe what you cannot name. This keeps your brain operating in English. Every time you translate, you strengthen the translation pathway. Every time you explain an idea directly in English, you strengthen the English pathway. Your brain becomes efficient at whatever you repeatedly ask it to do. If you constantly ask it to translate, it becomes a better translator. If you constantly ask it to connect meaning directly to English, it becomes a faster English speaker. Chapter 3. Build ready-to-use response patterns. Fast speakers do not create every sentence from zero. They rely on patterns. A response pattern is a flexible sentence structure that can be reused in many conversations. You keep the structure and change the details. Consider this pattern. One of the main reasons is that you can use it in hundreds of situations. One of the main reasons I am learning English is that I want better career opportunities. One of the main reasons I enjoy walking is that it clears my mind. One of the main reasons people avoid speaking is that they are afraid of mistakes. One of the main reasons I prefer mornings is that I can concentrate better. The pattern gives your brain a starting point. You do not need to design the sentence structure. You only need to insert the message. This is how response speed develops. Many learners collect isolated vocabulary but do not collect speaking structures. They know many nouns, adjectives, and verbs, yet they struggle to combine them quickly. Imagine owning thousands of bricks but having no building plan. The materials are available, but construction is slow. Response patterns provide the plan. Let us build several important categories of patterns. The first category is opinion patterns. I believe, in my opinion, from my point of view, the way I see it. I would say, as far as I am concerned, do not try to use all of them immediately. Choose two or three that feel natural. For example, I think social media can be useful, but people often spend too much time on it. From my point of view, learning through conversation is more effective than only memorizing rules. I would say the biggest challenge is staying consistent. Category is reason is that one reason is mainly because the reason I say that is what's I welcome makes it difficult is this happens because, for example, I prefer studying in the morning. The main reason is that my mind feels clearer. I sometimes hesitate when speaking. That is mainly because I overthink my grammar. What makes English difficult is the pressure to respond immediately. The third category is example patterns. For example, for instance, a good example is to give you an example. Let us say, imagine that examples make your answers longer and clearer without requiring advanced language. Suppose someone asks, why is consistency important? You answer, consistency is important because progress comes from repeated practice. For example, speaking for 15 minutes every day is usually more effective than practicing for 3 hours once a month. The fourth category is comparison patterns. Compared with, on the other hand. While this is true, the difference is both have advantages. But I prefer one because, for example, I enjoy both city life and country life, but I prefer the city because it offers more opportunities. On the other hand, the countryside is quieter and less stressful. The fifth category is uncertainty patterns. I am not completely sure, but as far as I know, I could be wrong. But I have not looked into it deeply. But my understanding is that I do not know the exact answer. But these patterns are important because you do not always need complete certainty to speak. Some learners stay silent because they do not know everything about a topic. Real conversations do not require expert knowledge. You can show uncertainty naturally. I am not completely sure, but I think the shop closes at 9. As far as I know, the meeting has been moved to Friday. I have not looked into it deeply, but the idea sounds useful. The sixth category is personal experience patterns. In my experience, I have noticed that I remember when the last time one thing I learned was, for example, in my experience, speaking becomes easier when you stop trying to impress people. I used to translate every sentence, but now I try to think in short English phrases. One thing I learned was that confidence comes after practice, not before it. The seventh category is clarification patterns. What I mean is, in other words, let me put it another way to be more specific. Basically, the point I am trying to make is these patterns help you continue when the first explanation is unclear. Suppose you say, I think learners need to lower the pressure. Maybe the listener looks confused. You continue. What I mean is that they should stop demanding perfect English from themselves. You did not freeze. You repaired the message. The eighth category is answer extending patterns. Another thing is something else I should mention is, besides that, not only that there is also on top of that, these structures help you continue speaking after the first idea. For example, I like working from home because I save time. Another thing is that I can control my environment. Besides that, I do not have to spend money on transportation. The ninth category is balanced opinion patterns. I can see both sides. There are advantages and disadvantages. It depends on the situation. In some cases, but in other cases, I agree up to a point. That may be true, although these patterns are extremely useful because many questions do not have a simple yes or no answer. Is technology making life better? It depends on the situation. Technology makes communication easier, but it can also create distraction. Should everyone work from home? I can see both sides. Working from home offers flexibility, but some people are more productive in an office. The 10th category is conclusion patterns. Overall, in the end, that is why so. So I would say for that reason, the main point is these patterns help you close an answer instead of stopping awkwardly. Overall, I think learning English becomes easier when you use it regularly. For that reason, I try to practice speaking every day. The main point is that speed comes from repetition. Now let us combine patterns into a complete response. Question: do you think people read enough books today? Answer: I would say many people do not read as much as they used to. The main reason is that phones provide faster entertainment. For example, someone may spend an hour watching short videos without realizing how much time has passed. On the other hand, digital technology has also made books easier to access. Overall, I think people still read, but their attention is divided. Notice the structure: opinion, reason, example, contrast, conclusion. You can use this same structure for many topics. Question: is learning English online effective? I think learning English online can be very effective. The main reason is that learners can access lessons whenever they want. For example, they can listen to native speakers, join online classes, and practice with language partners. On the other hand, online learning requires discipline. Overall, it works well when the learner follows a clear routine. Again, the structure does most of the work. You do not need to memorize complete answers. Memorized answers often sound unnatural and fail when the question changes. Memorize flexible patterns. A pattern is like a frame. You can place different pictures inside it. Here is a powerful daily drill. Choose one pattern. For example, one of the main reasons is that create 10 different sentences. One of the main reasons I wake up early is that I enjoy quiet mornings. One of the main reasons I study English is that I want to communicate internationally. One of the main reasons people procrastinate is that tasks feel overwhelming. One of the main reasons I like this city is that everything is nearby. Continue until you create 10. The next day, choose another pattern. I used to, but now I used to avoid conversations. But now I try to speak whenever possible. I used to memorize word lists, but now I learn phrases. I used to worry about my accent, but now I focus on being clear. I used to study randomly, but now I follow a routine. This repetition trains automatic access. You need patterns for common conversation topics: works, study, family, routines, preferences, past experiences, future plans, opinions, problems, and goals. Let us build a basic pattern bank for routines. I usually, most of the time, whenever I have time, one thing I do every day is for past experiences. The last time a few years ago, I remember when one experience that taught me a lot was for future plans. I am planning to have, one of my goals is in the future I hope to, for preferences. I prefer because I am more interested in if I had to choose I would. What I like most about it is for problems. The main difficulty is what I struggle with most is one problem I often face is the hardest part is for solutions. One thing that helps is a good way to deal with it is what I usually do is the best solution I have found is practice these aloud. Do not only read them silently. Your eyes cannot train your mouth. Your understanding cannot replace production. You must hear yourself using the patterns. Now answer these questions using at least 2 patterns in each answer. Why are you learning English? What is one habit you want to change? Do you prefer studying alone or with other people? What is one challenge in your daily life? What is something you used to believe but no longer believe? What are you planning to do this year? What makes a good friend? Should people spend less time online? Do not search for perfect vocabulary. Use the patterns as your support. The more familiar these structures become, the less your brain needs to construct. That saved mental energy can be used for ideas, listening, pronunciation, and connection. Response speed is not simply about talking faster. It is about making language easier to access. Patterns make language accessible. Chapter 4. Train the 3-second on response reflex. A major difference between hesitant speakers and confident speakers is not knowledge. It is the time they allow silence to grow. The longer you remain silent after a question, the more pressure you feel. During the first second, you are simply thinking. During the second, you start worrying. During the third second, you become aware that the other person is waiting. After that, your internal critic becomes louder. Why are you taking so long? You should know how to answer. They are noticing your hesitation. The silence becomes heavier and your brain becomes less effective. You need to train a 3-second response reflex. This does not mean you must give a complete answer within 3 seconds. It means you should begin speaking within 3 seconds whenever possible. You can begin with a direct answer. You can begin with a reaction phrase. You can begin by repeating part of the question. You can begin by acknowledging that you need a moment. But begin. Suppose someone asks, "What do you think is the best way to learn a language?" You may not have the whole answer ready. Say, "That is a good question. I think the best way is to use the language regularly." Now continue. You need to study, of course, but you also need to speak, listen, and make mistakes. You entered the conversation before your complete answer was formed. Here are natural phrases that help you begin. Let me think. That is a good question. I would probably say, my first thought is, I have never considered that, but it depends. There are a few ways to look at it. To be honest, off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind is, these are not meaningless filler phrases. They are speaking tools. However, do not use the same phrase before every answer. If you say "that is a good question" 20 times, it will sound mechanical. Build a small variety. The 3-second reflex must be trained under mild pressure. You cannot develop it only by reading examples. You need timed practice. Here is the first drill. I will ask 10 questions. After each question, begin your answer within 3 seconds. Give 1 or 2 sentences. What is your favorite time of day? What do you usually eat for breakfast? What did you do last weekend? What is one thing you are good at? What kind of weather do you dislike? What is your biggest reason for learning English? What do you do when you feel stressed? What is one country you would like to visit? Do you prefer books or films? What are you looking forward to? If you waited longer than 3 seconds, do not criticize yourself. Repeat the drill. On the second attempt, the ideas will already be familiar. Your goal is to create a faster start. The second drill is the one-word launch. Many learners think they need a full sentence before speaking. Instead, begin with simply sole reaction word. Definitely, probably, sometimes, honestly, usually, personally, maybe, absolutely, unfortunately, fortunately. Question: do you enjoy cooking? Sometimes. I enjoy cooking when I have enough time. Question: would you like to live abroad? Definitely. I think living abroad would teach me a lot. Question: are you an organized person? Honestly, not always. I try to stay organized, but I sometimes leave things until the last minute. The first word launches the response. The third drill is question recycling. Use part of the question to begin your answer. Question: why do people struggle to stay motivated? People struggle to stay motivated because they expect results too quickly. Question: what do you enjoy about your work? What I enjoy about my work is the chance to solve problems. Question: How has technology changed communication? Technology has changed communication by making it faster and more convenient. This method reduces the amount of language you must create. Be careful not to repeat the entire question unnaturally. Use only the useful structure. Question: what is something you would like to improve about yourself? One thing I would like to improve is my ability to stay focused. Question: when do you feel most productive? I feel most productive in the morning. Question: who has influenced you the most? The person who has influenced me the most is the fourth drill, is forced choice. Choice questions are useful because they narrow the idea. Do you prefer tea or coffee? Morning or night? City life or country life? Working alone or working in a team? Reading or watching videos? Planning everything or being spontaneous? Choose immediately, then explain. Coffee, because it helps me feel more awake. Morning, because my mind is clearer. Working alone, because I can focus better. However, teamwork is useful for creative projects. Do not waste time searching for the perfect choice. Choose and support the choice. This is important because many learners hesitate over content rather than language. They think which answer is completely true. What is my exact position? Are there exceptions? Conversation does not require a legal declaration. Give a general answer. You can add nuance afterward. The fifth drill is rapid categories. Choose a category and name items quickly. 5 foods, 5 jobs, 5 emotions, 5 things in a kitchen, 5 reasons people learn English, 5 activities people do on weekends, 5 problems travelers face. This drill strengthens word retrieval. Now turn the words into sentences. Suppose the category is these reasons people learn English. People learn English to find better jobs. They learn it to travel. Some people need it for university. Others want to watch films without subtitles. Many learners want to communicate with people from different countries. The sixth drill is sentence expansion. Begin with a basic sentence. I like mornings. Add a reason. I like mornings because everything feels quiet. Add an example. I like mornings because everything feels quiet. For example, I can work without interruptions. Add a contrast. However, I sometimes struggle to wake up early. Add a conclusion. Overall, mornings are still my most productive time. This drill teaches you to keep speaking after the first sentence. Many learners can respond quickly but stop immediately. What do you do for work? I am a designer. Then silence. You need to train a sentence. I am a designer. I mainly work on social media content. Then a third sentence. I have been doing it for about 3 years. A useful rule is this: never practice answers with only one sentence. Give at least 3 connected sentences. This builds conversational momentum. The seventh drill is random question training. Real conversations are unpredictable. If you only practice one topic for 20 minutes, your brain becomes comfortable with that topic, but may still freeze when the subject changes. Create or collect random questions. What is your favorite childhood memory? Should schools give less homework? What makes a person trustworthy? How would your life change if you had more free time? What is one invention you could not live without? What do people misunderstand about your country? Would you rather have more money or more time? What is one lesson you learned recently? Answer each question with only 5 seconds of preparation. Your answers may be messy. That is part of the training. You are developing adaptability. The 8th drill is interrupted response practice. Sometimes, while speaking, you forget a word or lose the sentence instead of stopping completely. Practice recovery phrases. Let me say that again. What I am trying to say is, I lost my train of thought for a moment. I cannot remember the exact word, but how can I explain this? It is something like the point is, suppose you say I went to the shop because I needed to buy I cannot remember the exact word, but it is the thing you use to charge a phone. The listener may say a charger. Yes, a charger. The conversation continues. You did not fail. You use communication skills. Fluent speaking is not the absence of problems. It is the ability to recover from problems. The 9th drill is shadow and change. Listen to or imagine a model sentence. I usually go for a walk after dinner because it helps me relax. Repeat it, then change one detail. I usually watch a program after dinner because it helps me relax. Change another detail. I usually go for a walk before breakfast because it helps me wake up. Change the subject. My brother usually goes for a drive after work because it helps him relax. You keep the pattern while adapting the meaning. This builds flexible speed. The 10th drill is the daily 60-second challenge. Choose one question and speak for 60 seconds without stopping. You may repeat yourself. You may use simple words. You may correct a mistake quickly, but do not abandon the answer. Question: what is one habit that has improved your life? Begin. One habit that has improved my life is planning my day. I started doing this because I often felt busy but did not finish important tasks. Now I write down 3 main things I need to do. This helps me focus. For example, instead of checking my phone first, I try to begin with the most difficult task. I do not follow the plan perfectly every day, but overall it has made me more organized. That is enough. You are not trying to deliver a professional speech. You are training continuous retrieval. The 3-second rule will feel uncomfortable at first because it removes your usual preparation time. That discomfort is useful. Your brain learns that it must find a usable beginning quickly. Speed is a response to repeated demand. If you always give yourself unlimited time, your brain has no reason to become faster. Create gentle time pressure. Not panic. not fear. Gentle pressure. 3 seconds to begin. Then build as you go. Chapter 5. Learn to speak with the vocabulary you already have. Many learners believe they cannot speak because they do not know enough words. Sometimes vocabulary is genuinely limited, but often the larger problem is that the learner does not know how to use existing vocabulary flexibly. You may know 3,000 words, but only feel comfortable speaking with 300 of them. Your passive vocabulary includes words you recognize when reading or listening. Your active vocabulary includes words you can retrieve and use while speaking. The gap between passive and active vocabulary can be enormous. Learning more words does not automatically close that gap. You close it by using words repeatedly in meaningful sentences. Suppose you recognize the word avoid. You understand it when someone says, "Try to avoid unnecessary stress." But can you produce it quickly? I avoid checking my phone in the morning. I try to avoid negative people. He avoided answering the question. This problem could have been avoided. I used to avoid speaking English. When you create multiple sentences, the word becomes easier to access. The goal is not to collect vocabulary. The goal is to activate it. Choose a useful word and connect it to your life. Take the word improve. What do I want to improve? I want to improve my speaking speed. What has improved recently? My listening has improved. How can someone improve? You can improve through regular practice. What needs improvement? My pronunciation still needs improvement. Now, the word has several connections in your brain. A word with one connection is difficult to retrieve. A word with many connections is easier to retrieve. Another powerful method is to learn word families. Take decide. I need to decide. I made a decision. I am still undecided. It was a difficult decision. I finally decided to leave. You do not need to study every possible form at once. Focus on the forms that appear in normal conversation. Take confident. I feel confident. I want to speak more confidently. My confidence is improving. I lack confidence in meetings. Practice gives me confidence. When words are linked in families, your vocabulary becomes more flexible. You should also learn common combinations, not isolated words. Instead of learning only decision, learn make a decision, change a decision, a difficult decision, a final decision, the right decision, a quick decision. Instead of learning only mistake, learn make a mistake. Correct a mistake. Learn from a mistake. A common mistake. A serious mistake by mistake. These combinations reduce hesitation because your brain does not need to guess which words belong together. You should also create personal example sentences. Generic examples are useful, but personal examples are easier to remember. Word hesitate. Generic sentence. People hesitate when they feel uncertain. Personal sentence. I hesitate when someone asks me an unexpected question in English. Word, consistent. Generic sentence. Consistent practice produces improvement. Personal sentence. I am trying to become more consistent with my speaking routine. Word, distracted. Generic sentence. Phones can make people distracted. Personal sentence. I get distracted when notifications appear while I am studying. Personal's relevance creates stronger memory. Another reason learners struggle is that they search for a precise word when a simpler word would work. Suppose you want to say exhausted, but the word does not appear. Say very tired. You want to say purchase. Say buy. You want to say approximately. Say about. You want to say inconvenient. Say not easy or causes problems. You want to say recommend. Say I think you should try. This is not failure. This is strategic communication. Fluent speakers simplify constantly. You need a replacement habit. When a word does not appear within 2 seconds, stop searching and replace it. Do not stand silently for 10 seconds trying to rescue one word. The word is not more important than the conversation. Here is a replacement drill. I will give you a word. Explain it without using the word itself. Generous. You might say, a person who likes giving and helping others. Crowded. A place with too many people. Convenient. Something that is easy to use or saves time. Disappointed. The feeling you have when something is not as good as you expected. Borrow to take something from someone and return it later. Neighbor. A person who lives near you. Appointment. A planned time to meet a doctor or another person. This skill makes you independent. You no longer need the perfect word to keep speaking. Another useful technique is category substitution. If you forget the exact item, use the larger category. You forget screwdriver. Say I need a tool. You forget salmon. Say I ate some fish. You forget hoodie. Say, I bought a jacket or a warm top. You forget pharmacist. Say the person at the pharmacy. The sentence may be less precise, but communication survives. Later, you can learn the exact word. Do not sacrifice fluency for precision every time. You must also stop trying to use recently learned advanced words too quickly. A learner discovers the word meticulous and tries to force it into every conversation. Because the word is unfamiliar, using it requires extra mental effort. There is nothing wrong with advanced vocabulary, but active control develops gradually. First, understand the word, then notice it in several contexts. Then create sentences. Then use it in controlled practice. Finally, use it naturally in conversation. Do not demand immediate automatic use. Your fastest speech will usually come from high-frequency vocabulary and familiar structures. That is normal. Even highly educated native speakers rely heavily on common words during ordinary conversation. Your speaking vocabulary should be practical. Focus on verbs such as get, make, take, give, keep, put, bring, find, try, feel, seem, become, change, improve, avoid, manage, realize, expect. These verbs appear in thousands of useful combinations. Get ready, get better, get tired, get used to, make progress, make time, make sure, take a break, take responsibility, give advice, keep going, keep in touch, put pressure on, find a way, manage to finish, realize the problem, expect a result. Learning these common combinations will improve your speaking more than memorizing. Rare words. Let us practice answering with basic vocabulary. Question. Describe a difficult day. Do not search for advanced expressions. Last Monday was a difficult day. I woke up late, missed the bus, and arrived at work 30 minutes late. Then my computer stopped working. I had several tasks to finish, so I felt stressed. In the evening, I went home, ate dinner, and went to bed early. Simple words. Clear story. Question. Describe someone you respect. I respect my older brother because he works hard and treats people well. He does not give up easily. Whenever I have a problem, he listens and gives me honest advice. I have learned a lot from him. Again, basic vocabulary can carry meaningful ideas. Question. Explain why English is important to you. English is important to me because it gives me access to more information and more opportunities. I can communicate with people from different countries. It may also help me in my career. Most importantly, learning English makes me feel more independent. You do not need complicated language to sound thoughtful. You need clear structure and genuine meaning. Build a daily activation routine. Choose 5 words you already understand. For each word, say 1 sentence about yourself. Ask 1 question using the word. Give 1 negative sentence. Use the word in the past. Use it in the future. For the word manage. I manage a small team. How do you manage your time? I cannot manage everything alone. I managed to finish the work yesterday. I will manage the project next month. This level of use turns recognition into control. Your problem may not be a lack of English. Your problem may be that too much of your English is asleep. Wake it up through production. Chapter 6. Train your mouth. Not only your mind speaking is not purely mental. Your brain may know the sentence, but your mouth may not be ready to produce it smoothly. English requires physical coordination. Your tongue, lips, jaw, breath, and voice must work together at speed. When you only read and listen, you develop understanding, but you do not fully train the physical movement of speech. This is why a sentence can feel clear in your mind but difficult in your mouth. You may know exactly what you want to say, yet the sounds become tangled. The solution is oral repetition, not silent repetition, not reading with your eyes. Speaking aloud, Your mouth needs experience with English sound combinations. Consider the sentence, I would have told you if I had known. You may understand every word, but producing it naturally requires coordination. Say it slowly. I would have told you if I had known. Again, I would have told you if I had known. Now slightly faster. I would have told you if I had known. Do not force speed. Smoothness comes first. Fast speaking is usually smooth speaking, not rushed speaking. Many learners try to speak faster by pushing words out quickly. That creates tension and reduces clarity. You should train connected speech gradually. Native and fluent speakers do not pronounce every word as a separate object. Words connect. I want to go. In natural speech, the words flow together. Do you want to come? The sounds influence one another. You do not need to copy every reduction immediately, but you do need to practice sentences as complete sound units. Take this phrase. What do you think about it? Do not practice only the words what, think, and about. Practice the complete question repeatedly. What do you think about it? What do you think about it? What do you think about it? Your mouth learns the root. This is muscle memory. The first oral drill is repeated sentence cycling. Choose one useful sentence. I am not completely sure, but I think it will work. Repeat it 5 times slowly, then 5 times at a natural speed. Then change one part. I am not completely sure, but I think it is possible. I am not completely sure, but I think we should wait. I am not completely sure, but I think he already knows. The pattern becomes physically familiar. The second drill is back chaining. Long sentences can be difficult. Start from the end and build backward. Sentence. I have been trying to improve my speaking confidence. Begin with confidence. Speaking confidence. My speaking confidence. Improve my speaking confidence. Trying to improve my speaking confidence. Been trying to improve my speaking confidence. I have been trying to improve my speaking confidence. This technique helps your mouth manage longer phrases. Try another sentence. One of the main reasons I hesitate is that I translate too much. Start from the end. Too much. Translate too much. I translate too much. That I translate too much. Is that I translate too much. I hesitate is that I translate too much. One of the main reasons I hesitate is that I translate too much. The third drill is rhythm imitation. English has stressed and unstressed words. Important words often receive more emphasis. I need to finish this today. The smaller grammatical words are usually less prominent. Do not speak every word with equal force. Listen to the rhythm. I really want to speak English more confidently. Say it naturally. I really want to speak English more confidently. Now change the emphasis. I really want to speak English more confidently. The meaning changes slightly. Perhaps you are correcting someone. You'll need to practice every day. Now, the emphasis is on the person. Rhythm makes speech easier to understand and often easier to produce. The fourth drill is breath grouping. Some learners try to say an entire long sentence in one breath. Their voice becomes weak, and they panic near the end. Divide the sentence into meaningful groups. When I first started learning English, I was afraid of making mistakes. But over time, I realized that mistakes were necessary. Speak in groups. When I first started learning English, I was afraid of making mistakes. But over time, I realized that mistakes were necessary. These pauses are natural. Speaking quickly does not mean removing every pause. Good speakers pause between ideas. Hesitant speakers often pause inside phrases. Compare these two versions. I want to improve my English because AB need it for my work. The pauses break the sentence unnaturally. A better version is I want to improve my English because I need it for my work. Pause after a complete idea, not after random words. The fifth drill is question and answer repetition. Practice the question and the response together. What do you do? I work in sales. How long have you been doing that? I have been doing it for about 4 years. What do you enjoy about it? I enjoy meeting different people and solving problems. Repeat the exchange several times and change the details. I work in education. I have been doing it for 2 years. I enjoy helping students understand difficult ideas. Your mouth becomes familiar with conversation sequences. The sixth drill is transformation practice. Start with one sentence and transform it. I work from home. Negative. I do not work from home. Past, I work from home last year. Future. I will work from home tomorrow. Question. Do you work from home? Reason. I work from home because it saves time. Preference. I prefer to work from home. This is more powerful than repeating one fixed sentence because it trains flexibility. Try another sentence. She speaks English well. She does not speak English well. She spoke English well during the meeting. She will speak English at the event. Does she speak English well? She speaks English well because she practices every day. The seventh drill is substitution training. Use one sentence frame and replace one element rapidly. I need to buy some groceries. I need to finish my work. I need to call my friend. I need to book an appointment. I need to leave early. I need to practice speaking. Now use I forgot to. I forgot to send the email. I forgot to lock the door. I forgot to bring my notebook. I forgot to charge my phone. I forgot to reply. The goal is not only grammar. The goal is fast physical production. The eighth drill is recording and replaying. Record yourself answering one question for 1 minute. Listen once for meaning. Did the answer make sense? Listen again for hesitation. Where did you stop? Were the pauses caused by missing ideas, missing words, or difficult pronunciation? Listen again for repeated errors. Do not try to correct 20 things. Choose one. Maybe you repeatedly drop past tense endings. Maybe you say after every few words. Maybe your voice becomes too quiet. Maybe one phrase is physically difficult. Practice that one area, then record again. Recording removes false assumptions. Some learners believe they sound terrible, but the recording is understandable. Others believe they speak smoothly, but the recording reveals long pauses. You need evidence. The ninth drill is shadowing. Choose a short piece of clear English audio. Listen to one sentence. Pause. Repeat it with similar rhythm and energy. Then play the sentence again and speak with the speaker if possible. Do not choose extremely fast content at first. Your goal is coordination, not survival. Use short segments, 5 to 10 seconds. Repeat several times. Notice where the speaker stresses words, connects sounds, and pauses. Shadowing can improve speed, but only when done carefully. Mindless imitation is less useful than focused repetition. The 10th drill is your daily mouth warm-up. Before an English conversation, class, meeting, or practice session, speak aloud for 5 minutes. Begin with familiar patterns. Today I need to, yesterday. I recently, I have been, one thing I am thinking about is my main goal today is then practice a few difficult phrases. I would like to explain what happened. As far as I understand, the situation has changed. I am not sure whether that is the best option. Could you give me a moment to think? This warm-up activates your speech muscles and English pathways. Athletes warm up before demanding movement. Singers warm up their voices. Speakers should also warm up. Do not expect your mouth to remain silent in English for days and then suddenly perform smoothly under pressure. Use it daily. Your speaking ability lives partly in the brain and partly in the body. Train both. Chapter 7. Stop letting perfection destroy your speed. Perfectionism often looks responsible. You tell yourself, I just want to speak correctly. That sounds reasonable. But when the desire for correctness becomes extreme, it damages fluency. You begin treating every sentence like an examination. Before speaking, you inspect the grammar. While speaking, you monitor pronunciation. After speaking, you replay the sentence and criticize it. You are never simply having a conversation. You are constantly grading yourself. This makes spontaneous speech almost impossible. You need to understand the difference between useful accuracy and destructive perfectionism. Useful accuracy means you care about clarity. You notice repeated mistakes. You study better forms. You improve over time. Destructive perfectionism means you believe you must avoid mistakes during every moment of communication. That goal is unrealistic. Even native speakers restart sentences, choose the wrong word, forget names, use grammar inconsistently, and change direction while speaking. Natural speech is not edited writing. It is created in real time. Real-time language will contain imperfections. You have to decide what matters most in each moment. When studying grammar, accuracy may be the priority. When taking a formal exam, accuracy and organization matter greatly. When speaking to a friend, speed and connection may matter more. When asking for directions, clarity matters more than elegance. When joining a meeting, useful participation matters more than perfect grammar. Different situations require different standards. Many learners use examination standards in ordinary conversation. That creates unnecessary fear. Suppose you say, "Yesterday, I go to the market." The tense is wrong, but the message is understandable. You can correct it naturally. "Sorry, yesterday I went to the market," then continue. The mistake did not destroy the conversation. Suppose you say, "My brother have a new job." You notice the error. "My brother has a new job." Continue. Correction can be quick and calm. You do not need to apologize repeatedly or become embarrassed. Another option is to ignore minor errors during the conversation and review them later. Not every mistake needs immediate repair. If the meaning is clear and the conversation is moving, constant correction may be more damaging than the error. You should ask, "Did the mistake block understanding? Is this a repeated mistake I want to improve? Can I correct it quickly without losing the conversation?" If the answer is no, keep going. Perfectionists often wait for confidence before speaking. They think, "When my English becomes better, I will participate more." But participation is one of the main things that makes English better. You are waiting for a result that requires the action you are avoiding. Confidence does not usually arrive first. Action comes first, then familiarity grows, then fear decreases, then confidence appears. You must be willing to sound imperfect while becoming better. Think about learning to play an instrument. A beginner does not wait until every note will be perfect before touching the instrument in front of someone. The imperfect practice creates the skill. Speaking is the same. You also need to stop comparing your unfinished English to someone else's polished English. You hear a fluent speaker and think, "Why can they respond immediately while I struggle?" You do not see the years of exposure, the thousands of conversations, the mistakes, the awkward moments, and the repeated practice behind their speed. You are comparing your current process with their developed result. That comparison provides no useful information. A better comparison is with your past performance. Can you answer a question faster than 3 months ago? Can you speak for 1 minute instead of 20 seconds? Can you recover when you forget a word? Can you understand more without translation? Can you participate even when nervous? These are real signs of progress. Another perfectionist habit is constantly searching for advanced alternatives. You want to say the film was good, but then you reject good because it seems too basic. You search for captivating, compelling, exceptional, or thought-provoking. By the time you find the word, the moment has passed. Use the available word, "The film was really good." Then explain. "The story kept me interested and the ending surprised me." That explanation is more valuable than one advanced adjective. Fluency grows when you trust the words you already control. You should also accept your accent. An accent is not a speaking failure. Everyone has an accent, including native speakers. The goal is understandable pronunciation, not erasing every sign of your background. Some pronunciation features may need improvement if they regularly cause misunderstanding. Work on those features directly, but do not turn your entire identity into a problem. When you obsess over sounding exactly like someone else, your speech becomes tense and artificial. Speak clearly. Use stress and rhythm. Pronounce important sounds, but allow your voice to remain yours. Perfectionism also affects content. Someone asks, "What is your favorite book?" You hesitate because you have several favorites. You wonder which one truly deserves first place. You worry that your answer is not interesting. Just choose one. One book I really enjoyed was You Can Say It Is Difficult to Choose, but one book that influenced me was Conversation Answers Do Not Need to Represent Your Final Opinion for the Rest of Your Life. Give a useful answer for the current moment. Let us practice imperfect speed. I will ask a question. You must answer immediately, and you are not allowed to restart the first sentence. What is something you want to learn? Begin. Keep going even if the sentence is not ideal. Now another question. What makes a person successful? Begin. Do not search for a brilliant definition. Now another. What is one mistake that taught you something important? Begin. You may notice the urge to edit. Resist it. Complete the thought first. Then after finishing, you can improve one sentence. This creates two separate modes. Fluency's mode, keep meaning moving. Accuracy mode, review and improve. You need both, but not at the same time. Here is a useful practice schedule. For 5 minutes, speak without stopping or correcting minor mistakes. Then listen to the recording. Choose 3 sentences that could be improved. Say the improved versions aloud. Then speak again on the same topic. This process protects fluency while still building accuracy. You should also celebrate recovery, not only correctness. If you forget a word and successfully describe it, that is progress. If you misunderstand and ask for clarification, that is progress. If you make an error but continue speaking, that is pro. If you feel nervous but answer anyway, that is progress. Your speaking system becomes stronger whenever you remain engaged instead of escaping. Perfectionism says, do not speak until you can guarantee success. Growth says speak, observe, adjust, and repeat. Choose growth. Chapter 8. Learn how to handle unexpected questions. Prepared English feels easier. You know the topic. You have time to think. You may have practiced the vocabulary. Unexpected questions feel different. Someone suddenly asks for your opinion. A colleague asks you to explain a problem. A stranger begins a conversation. A teacher asks a follow-up question you did not predict. Your mind goes blank. The problem is not always the English. Sometimes the problem is that you need time to form an idea. Even in your first language, some questions require thought. You must learn how to manage that thinking time in English. The first skill is acknowledging the question. That is something I have not thought about before. That is a difficult question. There are several things to consider. I need a moment to think about that. I am not sure I have a complete answer, but these phrases are honest and natural. They show that you heard the question and are preparing a response. The second skill is narrowing the question. Broad questions are difficult. What do you think about education? That topic is enormous. Narrow it. If we are talking about school education, I think when it comes to online education, one part of education that interests me is you do not need to answer every possible interpretation. Choose one angle question. How can society become better? You might say that is a very broad question, but if I had to focus on one area, I would say education. Now explain that area. Question: what causes people to be unhappy? There are many causes, but one major reason is constant comparison. You reduce the mental load. The third skills is dividing the answer. Use a simple structure. There are two main reasons. The first reason is, the second reason is on one hand, on the other hand, in the short term, in the long term. Structures help you think while speaking. Question: should university education for free? There are two sides to this. On one hand, free education could give more people access to opportunities. On the other hand, governments would need to find a sustainable way to pay for it. You do not need an expert conclusion. You have created an organized response. The fourth skill is using a personal example. When an abstract question feels difficult, connect it to experience. Question: why is communication important? In my experience, many problems become worse when people do not communicate clearly. For example, I once worked on a project where everyone made different assumptions. We wasted time because we did not discuss the plan properly. Personal examples are easier to access than abstract theory. The fifth skill is admitting limited knowledge. You do not need to pretend. I do not know enough about that topic to give a strong opinion. I have heard about it, but I have not researched it. I am not familiar with the details. From the little I know, this is not weak English. It is responsible communication. A confident speaker can say, I do not know. The sixth skill is clarifying the question. Sometimes you freeze because you are not sure what the person means. Ask, do you mean? Are you asking about? Could you explain what you mean by? Are you referring to the short-term effect or the long-term effect? Could you give me an example? Clarification gives you time and prevents an irrelevant answer. Suppose someone asks, "How do you deal with pressure?" You could ask, "Do you mean pressure at work or pressure in general?" Now, the question is more specific. The seventh skill is using a bridge. A bridge connects an unfamiliar question to a familiar topic. Question: what do you think about artificial intelligence in education? Maybe you do not know much about artificial intelligence, but you know about learning. You can say, "I do not know much about the technical side, but from a learner's point of view, I think tools are useful when they support thinking rather than replace it." You bridge from the unknown technical topic to the familiar learner perspective. Question: how should governments reduce unemployment? You may not understand government policies deeply. I am not an expert in economics, but I think practical training and access to education are important parts of the solution. You contribute without pretending to know everything. The eighth skill is answering with conditions. Some questions depend on context. Is working from home better? It depends on the person and the type of work. For someone who needs quiet concentration, it may be better. For someone who enjoys teamwork, an office may be more suitable. Should children use technology? It depends on how they use it, how much time they spend, and whether an adult is guiding them. Conditional answers reduce the pressure to choose one absolute position. The ninth skill is correcting your direction. Sometimes you begin answering and realize you misunderstood. Do not panic. Actually, I think I misunderstood the question. Let me answer that differently. I started talking about something else. What I mean is, I would like to change my answer slightly. This is normal communication. The 10th skill is building tolerance for surprise. You need random practice. Ask a friend to give you unexpected questions. Use a question generator. Write 50 questions on small pieces of paper and choose them randomly. Mix easy and difficult topics. What did you eat today? What does friendship mean to you? Should people work 4 days a week? What would you do if you lost your phone? What is one law you would change? How does social media affect relationships? What is something people often pretend to enjoy? Would you rather be respected or liked? What makes a home feel comfortable? What would you teach if you became a teacher? What is one problem technology cannot solve? How would you describe your personality? What is decision you are proud of? What does freedom mean to you? Do not prepare complete answers in advance. Practice the process. Acknowledge, narrow, begin, explain, give an example, conclude. Here is a model response to an unexpected question. Question: do you think failure is necessary for success? That is an interesting question. I would not say failure is always necessary, but it is often an important teacher. When something goes wrong, you receive information about what needs to change. For example, a person may fail an exam and realize that their study method is ineffective. On the other hand, failure is only useful if the person reflects and tries again. So, I think failure can support success, but it does not automatically create it. This answer uses common words and a clear structure. Reaction, position, explanation, example, balance, conclusion. You can train this structure until it becomes natural. Unexpected questions will stop feeling like attacks. They will become opportunities to use your response tools. Chapter 9. Build a daily English response training system. Improvement does not come from occasional motivation. It comes from a repeatable system. Many learners practice English only when they feel inspired. They watch one long lesson, make an ambitious plan, practice intensely for 2 days, and then stop. This cycle creates familiarity, but not automaticity. Your brain needs frequent, repeated retrieval. 15 focused minutes every day can transform speaking speed more effectively than one long session. At the end of the week, you need a response training system that is simple enough to continue and challenging enough to create growth. Here is a 30-minute routine. The first 5 minutes are for activation. Speak about your immediate situation. What am I doing? How do I feel? What happened earlier today? What do I need to do next? Do not prepare. Speak continuously. For example, I am sitting in my room and practicing English. I feel a little tired, but I want to complete this session. Earlier today, I went to work and finished several tasks. After this practice, I need to answer some messages and prepare dinner. This activates familiar vocabulary and reduces the shock of beginning. The next 5 minutes are for pattern training. Choose one response pattern. For example, one of the main reasons is that create 10 sentences aloud. One of the main reasons I enjoy learning online is that it gives me flexibility. One of the main reasons I struggle with speaking is that I overthink. One of the main reasons exercise is important is that it improves mental health. Use different topics. The next 5 minutes are for rapid questions. Answer 10 short questions. Give yourself 3 seconds to begin and 20 to 30 seconds to respond. Use random topics. The next 5 minutes are for expansion. Choose one answer from the rapid questions. Turn it into a 1-minute response. Add a reason, example, contrast, and conclusion. The next 5 minutes are for imitation. Repeat a short piece of natural English audio. Focus on rhythm, connected speech, and pronunciation. The final 5 minutes are for recording and correction. Record one answer. Listen. Choose one area to improve. Repeat the answer. This is a complete 30-minute session. Activation, patterns, quick responses, expansion, imitation, correction. You do not need a different system every week. Repetition is the system. However, you should gradually increase difficulty. During the first week, use personal topics, daily routines, food, family, work, study, hobbies, past weekends, future plans. During the second week, use opinion topics, technology, education, health, social media, travel, money, success, friendship. During the third week, use problem and solution topics. How can people reduce stress? How can cities reduce traffic? How can learners stay motivated? How can workplaces improve communication? How can people spend less time on their phones? During the fourth week, use unpredictable and abstract questions. What makes life meaningful? Can money create freedom? Is honesty always the best choice? What makes someone mature? Should people always follow their passion? The purpose is gradual overload. You begin where speaking feels manageable. Then you add complexity. You should track specific behaviors, not vague feelings. Do not only ask, "Do I feel fluent?" Feelings change daily. Track measurable actions. How many days did I practice this week? How quickly did I begin answering? How long could I speak without stopping? How many times did I translate? Could I recover after forgetting a word? Did I use the target pattern? Did I record myself? Did I correct one repeated mistake? These questions provide useful evidence. Create a simple record. Practice 20 minutes. Answered 8 questions. Spoke for 40 seconds continuously. Day 2. Practiced 30 minutes. Used 5 opinion patterns. Spoke for 1 minute. Day 3 struggled with ideas, translated several times, but completed the session. Do not demand perfect practice. Consistent imperfect practice wins. You should also rotate between controlled and free practice. Controlled practice focuses on one structure. I have been trying to wake up earlier. I have been trying to reduce screen time. I have been trying to improve my pronunciation. Free practice allows you to speak without a specific grammar target. Both are necessary. Controlled practice builds reliable patterns. Free practice builds adaptability. You also need listening that supports speaking. Passive listening can improve familiarity, but active listening is stronger. When you hear a useful phrase, pause and repeat it. Ask, "Can I use this phrase in my own life?" Suppose you hear, "I ended up staying at home." Create examples. I planned to go out, but I ended up staying at home. I wanted to cook, but I ended up ordering food. We took the wrong road and ended up arriving late. Now the phrase moves toward active use. Create a small speaking notebook. Do not fill it with hundreds of random words. Write useful patterns, personal examples, and common situations. Page 1. Phrases for buying time. Let me think. That is a good question. I have never thought about that before. Page 2. Phrases for opinions. I would say, from my point of view, the way I see it. Page 3. Phrases for forgotten words. I cannot remember the exact word, but it is the thing you use for it is similar to page 4 phrases. For clarification. Do you mean could you explain that? Are you asking ask about? Review these pages aloud. Do not only look at them. You should also create situation training. Imagine common situations in your life. Introducing yourself. Joining a meeting. Talking to a customer. Explaining a delay. Asking for help. Making a phone call. Visiting a doctor. Checking into a hotel. Speaking to a neighbor. Disagreeing politely. For each situation, practice likely questions and responses. Suppose the situation is introducing yourself. Could you tell me a little about yourself? My name is I am from. I currently work as I have been learning English because in my free time I enjoy. Do not memorize it like a robot. Practice several versions. Short version, professional version, casual version. The more versions you practice, the more flexible you become. For explaining a delay, I am sorry I am late. There was heavy traffic. I apologize for the delay. I had a problem with transportation. I expected to arrive earlier, but the journey took longer than usual. For asking for clarification, could you repeat the last part? Sorry, I did not catch that. Could you speak a little more slowly? Do you mean that the deadline has changed? These are high-value patterns because they solve real communication problems. Your system should include real conversations whenever possible. Self-practice is valuable, but speaking with another person adds unpredictability, listening pressure, and emotional reality. You can practice with a teacher, friend, language partner, colleague, or online speaking group. Set a clear rule during the conversation. Do not switch languages for the first 10 minutes. Use simple English. Describe missing words. Ask for clarification. Keep going. After the conversation, note 3 moments when you struggled. What question caused hesitation? What word was missing? What structure did you need? Turn those problems into the next day's practice. Real conversation reveals what your system should target. You should also repeat topics. Some learners believe repeating a topic is cheating. It is not. The first time you answer, you struggle with ideas and language. The second time, the structure improves. The third time, the vocabulary becomes easier. The fourth time, you can focus on pronunciation and natural delivery. Repetition creates control. Speak about the same topic today, tomorrow, and 3 days later. Do not memorize the exact answer. Improve it. Topic: Why are you learning English? First version may be 30 seconds. Second version may include a personal story. Third version may have better organization. Fourth version may sound smoother and more confident. This is how automatic speaking develops, not through constant novelty, through intelligent repetition. Chapter 10. Become the speaker who responds, before fear takes control. At this point, you understand the tools. You know why your brain becomes slow. You know how translation creates delay. You know how patterns reduce mental effort. You know how to begin within 3 seconds. You know how to use basic vocabulary flexibly. You know how to train your mouth. You know how perfectionism blocks speed. You know how to manage unexpected questions. You know how to build a daily system. But knowledge does not create the final change. Identity and action create the final change. You need to stop seeing yourself as a person who is preparing to speak English someday. You are an English speaker in training now. Not after another course. Not after you learn 200 more words. Not after your grammar becomes perfect. Now, this does not mean pretending to be fluent. It means behaving like someone who uses English. A speaker speaks. A speaker searches for a way to communicate. A speaker makes mistakes and continues. A speaker asks questions. A speaker responds even when the answer is simple. A speaker does not wait for permission from perfection. Every conversation contains a small decision. Will you respond or will you retreat? Will you use the words you have or remain silent because you do not have the words you want? Will you accept 3 seconds of discomfort or avoid the opportunity completely? Your future speaking ability is built through these small decisions, not one dramatic moment, hundreds of small responses. Someone asks, "How are you?" Instead of saying only, "Fine," you add, "I am doing well. It has been a busy day, but I finished most of my work." Someone asks, "What do you think?" Instead of avoiding the question, you say, "I am not completely sure, but I think the idea could work." Someone uses a word you do not understand. Instead of pretending, you say, "Sorry, what does that word mean?" Someone asks an unexpected question. Instead of freezing, you say, "That is an interesting question." My first thought is, these moments retrain your nervous system. Your brain begins learning that English conversations are manageable. You do not need full control before beginning. You can build control while participating. Let us complete a final response workout. You will answer 10 questions. For each question, begin within 3 seconds. Use at least 3 sentences. Include one reason or example. Do not stop to correct small mistakes. Question 1. What is the biggest challenge you face when speaking English? Begin. You might say, "The biggest challenge I face is responding quickly. I often know what I want to say, but I start translating and checking my grammar. I am working on this by answering random questions every day." Question 2. What would change in your life if you spoke English confidently? Begin. My career opportunities might improve. I would also feel more comfortable communicating with people from different countries. Most importantly, I would stop avoiding situations where English is required. Question 3. What is one habit that wastes your time? Begin. One habit that wastes my time is checking my phone without a clear reason. I sometimes open one application and then spend 30 minutes moving between different apps. I am trying to control this by keeping my phone away while I work. Question 4. Do you think people should follow a strict daily routine? Begin. I think routines are helpful, but they should not be too strict. A routine can reduce unnecessary decisions and help people stay consistent. However, life is unpredictable, so people also need flexibility. Question 5. Describe a recent moment when you felt proud of yourself. Begin. Recently, I completed a task that I had been avoiding for several weeks. It was not an enormous achievement, but it required discipline. I felt proud because I finally stopped making excuses and finished it. Question 6. What makes a conversation enjoyable? Begin. A conversation is enjoyable when both people listen and show genuine interest. It also helps when nobody feels pressured to impress the other person. In my experience, the best conversations are honest, relaxed, and balanced. Question 7. What is one thing schools should teach more effectively? Begin. I think schools should teach communication skills more effectively. Students learn a lot of information, but many struggle to express ideas clearly. For example, they may understand a topic, but feel terrified when speaking in front of others. Question 8. Would you rather have a job you love or a job that pays more? Begin. It depends on the difference in salary. I would prefer meaningful work, but financial stability is also important. Ideally, I would choose a job that I enjoy and that provides enough money for a comfortable life. Question 9. What advice would you give to someone who is afraid of making mistakes in English? Begin. I would tell them that avoiding mistakes also means avoiding progress. They should start with simple conversations and focus on communication. Every mistake shows them what they need to practice next. Question 10. What are you going to do differently after this training? Begin. Do not use my answer. Give yours. Say what you will practice. Say when you will practice. Say how you will measure progress. This final question matters because improvement begins after the lesson ends. You can listen to 100 videos about fluency and remain hesitant. You can collect notebooks filled with grammar rules and remain silent. You can understand every strategy and still avoid speaking. At some point, you have to place yourself inside the process. You must answer before you feel fully ready. You must speak while the sentence is still forming. You must allow simple language to carry real meaning. You must stop treating hesitation as proof that you cannot speak. Hesitation is a habit. Translation is a habit. Overthinking is a habit. Silence is a habit. Habits can be replaced. Replace translation with direct English thoughts. Replace silence with a starting phrase. Replace perfectionism with clear communication. Replace passive vocabulary with active sentences. Replace random study with daily response training. Replace fear of mistakes with skill at recovery. Do not try to become fast by rushing. Become fast by becoming familiar. Familiar with common patterns. Familiar with expressing your own ideas. Familiar with the feeling of uncertainty. Familiar with making mistakes. Familiar with continuing. The goal is not to eliminate every pause. Good speakers pause. The goal is to remove the fearful, confused silence in which you abandon your answer before it begins. A calm pause is different from freezing. A calm pause says, "I am thinking." Freezing says, "I am afraid to try." You're training the calm pause. You're training the useful beginning. You are training the second sentence. You are training for recovery. From now on, when a question comes, do not demand the whole answer. Find the first sentence. When the first sentence comes, do not judge it. Say it. Then add a reason. Then add an example. Then continue one idea at a time. This is how fluent speech is built in real life. Not as a perfect paragraph appearing instantly in the mind, as a sequence of manageable thoughts. You already do this in your first language. You begin speaking before you know every word you will say. You discover parts of the answer while talking. Give yourself permission to do the same in English. There will be moments when you forget everything. There will be conversations that feel disappointing. There will be days when your mouth feels slow and your confidence feels weak. Do not turn one difficult day into a false conclusion about your ability. Performance changes from day to day. Training creates the long-term direction. Return to the process. Speak for 5 minutes. Answer one question. Repeat one pattern. Recur one response. Correct one problem. Small training is always better than waiting for the perfect session. You do not need to feel motivated every day. You need a minimum action. On a strong day, practice for 30 minutes. On a difficult day, practice for 5. But keep the pathway open. Your brain is changing through repetition. Even when the change is too small to notice immediately, one day, someone will ask you a question and you will answer before translating. You may not notice it at first. The sentence will simply come. Then another sentence will follow. You will make a small mistake, but you will keep speaking. You will forget a word and explain it another way. You will realize that the conversation did not require perfect English. It required presence. That moment will not be magic. It will be the result of every simple sentence you practiced when nobody was listening, every 3-second answer, every repeated pattern, every recording, every uncomfortable conversation, every time you chose communication over silence. You are not trying to speak like a machine. You are training yourself to respond like a human being who uses English. Humans hesitate. Humans correct themselves. Humans search for words. Humans tell imperfect stories. Humans connect. That connection is the purpose of language. Do not let grammar anxiety make you forget why you are learning. You are learning to express yourself, to participate, to understand and be understood, to create opportunities, to build relationships, to stop standing outside conversations that you want to join. Your English does not need to be flawless before it becomes valuable. Use it now. Improve it while using it. The next time someone asks you a question, notice the old habit, the desire to translate, the urge to create the perfect sentence, the fear that your answer will sound basic. Then interrupt that habit. Take one calm breath. Choose a starting phrase. Give the simplest useless answer. Continue. You are not waiting for your English brain to appear. You are building it every time you respond. This is the speaking reset, and your reset begins with the next sentence you